Africa must never tell us what to do. The same United States, which is furious at being cut off from the riches of Burkina Faso, cannot tell us what to do. We stand with Captain Traoré. We stand with Traoré because we know that Traoré stands for the unity of Africa.
Declines President Museveni's state visit invitation. In a notable development in diplomatic relations, President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso has officially declined the invitation extended by Ugandan President Yoweri Museveni for a state visit. This decision has raised eyebrows and is being closely monitored by political analysts and observers in both nations, as well as the broader international community. The invitation from President Museveni came at a time when Uganda is eager to strengthen ties with several African nations, focusing on regional cooperation and economic partnerships. Museveni has championed the importance of unity within the African continent, often advocating for collaborative approaches to tackle issues ranging from security challenges to economic growth. This context makes Traoré's refusal all the more significant. Sources close to the Burkinabe presidency indicated that Traoré's decision stems from multiple factors, including the current political climate in Burkina Faso and the pressing issues that demand his attention domestically. Since assuming office in 2022, Traoré has faced numerous challenges, including security threats from extremist groups that have plagued the Sahel region. His administration has prioritized addressing these urgent issues, which may have influenced his reluctance to engage in international travel at this time. While the exact details of Traoré's response to the invitation remain private, some analysts suggest that it reflects a broader trend among African leaders prioritizing national stability and internal affairs over bilateral engagements. This perspective is increasingly relevant as nations grapple with the repercussions of various crises, including food insecurity, economic downturns, and ongoing security threats. Moreover, the dynamics between Burkina Faso and Uganda have historically been cordial, but recent events have put a strain on such relationships. President Traoré's government is reportedly focusing on establishing stronger regional cooperation among like-minded nations that share common security challenges, particularly concerning terrorism and political instability. This approach may signify a strategic pivot aimed at consolidating regional alliances that can provide mutual support in facing shared threats. In addition, some observers note that diplomatic invitations and exchanges can also be influenced by internal politics. In a region marked by coups and political upheaval, leaders are often cautious about international outings that may divert attention from pressing domestic issues. This decision has ignited a discussion about the delicate balance of power, independence, and the influence of Western nations in African politics. For many young people across the continent, Traoré's stance can be seen as a declaration of African sovereignty and self-determination. Burkina Faso has witnessed significant political upheaval in recent years, and Traoré's rise to power has been rooted in a desire to reclaim authority for the nation and its people. By rejecting Museveni's invitation, Traoré is sending a clear message that he will not engage with leaders who he perceives as puppets of Western powers. This sentiment resonates with many youths who feel disenfranchised by policies and leaders that prioritize foreign interests over local needs and aspirations. For the past few decades, Africa has been both resilient and vulnerable, battling the legacies of colonialism while also contending with new forms of economic imperialism. Many young people today are wary of leaders who align too closely with Western interests, seeing it as a betrayal of their nations. Traoré's actions represent a growing sentiment among the continent's youth, the belief that African leaders should prioritize national interests over external pressures and expectations. Museveni's long presidency, which has spanned more than 3 decades, has drawn criticism for its heavy-handed approach to dissent and its reliance on Western support. Traoré's refusal to engage with Museveni could be interpreted as an act of defiance against a status quo that has often sidelined African voices in favor of foreign agendas. For young people, this dynamic underscores the importance of authentic leadership that reflects the true interests of the nation, rather than serving as an extension of external powers. As news of Traoré's declined invitation spreads, it is expected to have repercussions beyond bilateral relations. It could lead to renewed discussions about the effectiveness of diplomatic engagements in addressing the growing crisis in the Sahel and whether such engagements can yield tangible results in fostering stability in a region desperate for peace. President Ibrahim Traoré's decision to decline President Yoweri Museveni's state visit invitation highlights the complexities of contemporary African politics. It underscores the importance of prioritizing national security and governance in an era where the stakes are exceptionally high. As the situation evolves, it will be crucial for all parties involved to navigate these diplomatic waters carefully, ensuring that the focus remains on strengthening regional stability and cooperation amidst ongoing challenges. Moreover, this episode raises important questions about the direction of African leadership in the future. Youths across the continent are increasingly aware of their political surroundings and demand greater accountability from their leaders. Traoré's unwillingness to meet Museveni is not merely an act of political theater, rather, it signals a shift towards a new generation of leaders who are willing to challenge traditional power structures. The implications of Traoré's decision extend beyond Burkina Faso and Uganda. It embodies a broader movement among African nations to collectively face the challenges posed by external influence and to forge a path rooted in autonomy and unity. Young Africans are recognizing the power of solidarity in the pursuit of self-determined futures, pushing back against narratives that portray them as passive recipients of foreign aid or policies. Ibrahim Traoré's refusal to meet with President Museveni is a significant moment in the ongoing narrative of African political independence. For the continent's youth, it is a call to action, urging them to embrace their power and demand leadership that is accountable, transparent, and, most importantly, reflective of their aspirations and values. In a world where the voices of young people are more critical than ever, Traoré's stand could inspire a new wave of leadership that is not just influenced by the West, but by the will and needs of the African people themselves. One such leader is President Ibrahim Traoré of Burkina Faso, a young and dynamic figure who took the reins of power amid a tumultuous period for the nation. However, some alarms are being raised regarding external influences from Western nations seeking to maintain the status quo by utilizing established dictators like Yoweri Museveni of Uganda and Paul Kagame of Rwanda to undermine Traoré's leadership. This development poses not only a challenge to his governance but also a significant threat to the aspirations of Africa's youth. Young Africans have long been advocates for democratic governance, economic opportunities, and human rights. They yearn for a continent that prioritizes their voices and fosters innovation rather than being held captive by outdated political paradigms. Ibrahim Traoré's rise symbolizes this potential for change. His leadership is predominantly supported by younger demographics who are eager to pave a new path for their countries, free from the grips of oppressive rulers. However, the involvement of Western powers in African politics often comes with ulterior motives. Historically, these nations have engaged in machinations designed to protect their interests under the guise of promoting stability and democracy. By endorsing figures like Museveni and Kagame, leaders whose tenure has been marred by allegations of human rights abuses and autocratic governance. The West risks not only destabilizing emerging democracies but also keeping youth aspirations in a chokehold. The tactics of these aging dictators are clear: discredit Traoré and undermine his authority as a means to restore their influence. As both leaders have been in power for decades, their strategies to cling to power often involve manipulation, economic leverage, and sometimes oppressive measures against dissent. This authoritarian framework stands in stark contrast to the democratic ideals championed by the youth that look to leaders like Traoré for a brighter future. For the African youth, the stakes could not be higher. If the West successfully facilitates a return to the old guard, it will signal a devastating blow to the progress made in terms of governance, civil liberties, and economic independence. The youth who are actively engaged in advocating for change could find themselves under greater threat, as dictators often suppress dissent with heavy-handed policies. What must happen now is a call to action. Young people across the continent need to remain vigilant and united to preserve their democratic future. This means critically engaging with not only their governments but also questioning the intentions of external forces that seek to interfere in their political affairs. The unfolding political dynamic surrounding President Ibrahim Traoré demands an acute awareness from Africa's youth. Instead of allowing foreign powers to dictate their fate through the usage of long-standing dictators, young leaders must champion their vision for the continent. It is time for the youth of Africa to reclaim their narrative, to ensure that their aspirations and voices are not sacrificed on the altar of geopolitics. The future of Africa belongs to its youth, and they deserve the freedom to define their own destinies. In recent speeches, President Traoré has suggested that Western powers, specifically through the manipulation of leaders like Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni, orchestrated Gaddafi's downfall. This assertion emphasizes a broader theme, the complex interplay between African nations and Western influences, highlighting the need for young Africans to critically engage with their history and current events. Colonel Muammar Gaddafi, who ruled Libya for 42 years, was a controversial figure known for his revolutionary policies, Pan-African ideals, and fierce opposition to Western intervention in Africa. Gaddafi's leadership was often polarizing. While many viewed him as a beacon of African unity and socialism, others criticized his authoritarian rule and human rights violations. His vision involved a united Africa free from the shackles of colonialism, which rallied many supporters but also incurred the ire of Western powers. The tipping point for Gaddafi came in 2011 during the Arab Spring, when uprisings across the Middle East and North Africa sparked significant political upheaval. The West, particularly NATO, intervened militarily, resulting in Gaddafi's brutal death and the subsequent descent of Libya into chaos. President Traoré posits that this intervention was not merely a humanitarian act but a strategically orchestrated move by Western nations to eliminate a leader who posed a challenge to their influence in Africa. This narrative resonates deeply with young Africans who are often caught between traditional values and the aggressive expansion of globalization. Many youth today are questioning the role of foreign intervention in their countries, fueled by a desire for self-determination and authentic leadership that reflects their aspirations and realities. Traoré's remarks serve as a wake-up call for young people to critically analyze the political narrative surrounding African leadership and sovereignty. Moreover, President Traoré's assertion underscores the importance of recognizing the interconnectedness of African nations. If a leader like Museveni can be perceived as a puppet of Western interests, it challenges future leaders to prioritize their sovereignty and the collective well-being of Africa. For the youth, understanding these dynamics can empower them to demand accountability from their leaders and advocate for policies that prioritize regional collaboration over external influence. As young Africans engage with these themes, they are encouraged to reflect on the political landscape within their own countries and consider the impact of global affairs on their lives. In a world where information flows freely, the responsibility lies with the youth to discern and debate the narratives that influence their futures. President Ibrahim Traoré's beliefs regarding the West's role in the downfall of Muammar Gaddafi invite a deeper exploration of the legacies of leadership and the pursuit of sovereignty in Africa. As the youth navigate these complex realities, they must strive for a future that embodies unity, resilience, and a commitment to charting their own course. The conversations sparked by Traoré's insights are just the beginning of a necessary dialogue about Africa's past, present, and future. Tensions have surfaced between Uganda and Burkina Faso following the decision of President Ibrahim Traoré to decline an invitation from his Ugandan counterpart, President Yoweri Museveni. The situation has elicited a fiery response from Museveni, raising questions about diplomacy and regional relationships in Africa. President Yoweri Museveni, who has been the leader of Uganda for over 3 decades, is no stranger to the challenges of maintaining alliances and fostering regional stability. His administration has often been characterized by strong leadership and a commitment to promoting Uganda's interests on the international stage. Nonetheless, the refusal of President Traoré to visit Uganda has reportedly left Museveni both furious and perplexed, as he perceives this as a diplomatic affront. Ibrahim Traoré, having taken office during a tumultuous period in Burkina Faso, represents a new wave of leadership in Africa that is more assertive and perhaps less deferential to established leaders like Museveni. His decision to turn down the invitation can be seen as part of a broader trend among younger leaders who are seeking to chart their own paths independently of the influence of older political figures. This move could resonate with many youths in Africa who are keen on seeing their leaders prioritize the needs and sentiments of their constituents over maintaining traditional diplomatic formalities. The reasons behind Traoré's refusal remain speculative. Some commentators have suggested that it may be linked to regional dynamics, as Burkina Faso has been grappling with internal challenges, including security concerns and economic instability due to various crises. The president might be focused on addressing these pressing issues rather than engaging in international travel and diplomacy. Additionally, it is possible that Traoré signifies a desire to redefine or recast Burkina Faso's position within the African landscape, choosing to align more closely with nations that share similar challenges rather than those led by established figures. Museveni's reaction, however, highlights the delicate balance that exists within African diplomacy. It is common for leaders to take affront at perceived slights, but in this case, the fallout could have broader implications for Uganda and Burkina Faso's bilateral relations, especially in light of Museveni's long-standing influence in East Africa and efforts to strengthen partnerships across the continent. As this diplomatic drama unfolds, it serves to remind the youth of Africa, who make up a significant portion of the continent's population, of the importance of active engagement in political matters. The decisions made by current leaders will inevitably shape the future. Whether these young leaders will increase collaboration or further exacerbate divisions remains to be seen. In a world where political landscapes are constantly evolving, the refusal of one president to engage with another can mean more than just a slight. It can signify a shift in allegiances and priorities. The reaction of seasoned officials like President Museveni will be crucial in determining how Africa navigates this changing tide of leadership, as the youth look on, hoping for a future marked by collaboration, innovation, and mutual respect among the continent's leaders.